Right now, Bitcoin making a little bit of a move as inflation cools down and BTC bouncing out of oversold. In this video, we're going to jump right into the charts and discuss what might be next for Bitcoin. So please hit the subscribe and like, and let's jump into it. Investors may be surprised to learn that in the last 69 years, on average, stocks did worse in the year before a recession began than during the recession itself. We've been talking about that single data point for quite some time now on this YouTube channel, and it is proving to be so consistently accurate. Stocks did worse in the year before a recession began than during the recession itself. What does that mean in terms of Bitcoin? And then we're going to hop into the short-term Bitcoin charts. Well, 2022 is the year before this 2023 recession, as they're calling it, right? This was 2022 back here. What was it besides that, though? This was just the typical bear market. Bitcoin was due for a bear market almost at this exact point, and Bitcoin fell into the bear market just at such great timing. The way that these two events, the recession and a Bitcoin bear market, kind of collided, I don't think could be better for crypto holders. The timing of it just so brilliant. And right now, let's call it a 2023 recession. Well, the worst then, apparently, according to data, not my opinion, the worst being over, the worst of it being over. That's not to say there might not be some downside, some pretty volatile, crazy, painful downside. But I just wanted to start with that because right now, what's happening is we're seeing key data points starting to potentially trigger the shift from that bear market into a new cycle. And if we look at what's going on right now, 4.9 is the new CPI data that just got released for April. And we're going to jump into the Bitcoin charts, but this is what's going on. U.S. inflation shows signs of moderating, giving Fed room to pause. What type of impact is that going to have on markets, that narrative alone? The CPI climbed 4.9% in April from a year earlier, less than the 5% economists in a Bloomberg survey had expected. So all that tying into what we have going on Bitcoin in the short term, I would say on the short term, even there's immediate resistance. This is a 6-hour chart, but it is in this general vicinity. It's not because of these 6-hour moving averages. It's because of the daily moving averages. We have a 20 in green and the 50 in blue sitting right above Bitcoin. Now, want to just point something out. The last time Bitcoin was making a similar move out of oversold, you can just see we also had the 20-day kind of just mingling with the 50-day right there. And it popped right back up, the 20-day. So that's kind of what we're looking for, 20-day to kind of just shoot back up. And what will cause that? It's Bitcoin to break through those moving averages. Immediate resistance right now in the short term, 28,500 or so is this confluent resistance area. Wanted to throw that out there. But what's going on Bitcoin? How is it over or kind of exiting oversold or just bouncing out of oversold? It's the 6-hour chart. And then we're going to look back at a really key data point on the daily chart. But it's the 6-hour chart. If we look at this, you can see stock RSI, obviously, kind of a quicker moving momentum oscillator coming out of oversold. The RSI, slower moving, coming out of oversold. All the while, Bitcoin bouncing off of a key trend line. Not only in the shorter term, we see this trend line at the bottom here, but it's if we go back to that daily chart, it's this trend line. Goes all the way back to November 2022. And you can just see it extends, Bitcoin kind of wicking to that area a couple of times, bounces down, and we broke out of this channel to the upside. Remember, this channel, a $40,000 target to the upside. And just look, we broke to the upper trend line, through the upper trend line in March, and it's just been sideways since then, right? So this just goes to show when there are targets to the upside that are still, as I do this video even, I'm not saying it's guaranteed we're going to hit that target. Bitcoin could fall back into this channel. That's in play. But when there are targets, especially on huge patterns like this, they take a lot of time and patience. And it can be frustrating to track these things. But right now, Bitcoin just hobbling along the trend line, and right now trying to exit and separate. But that resistance right there on the daily. Back to the 6-hour though, here's a shorter term consolidation pattern. We see these lower highs for Bitcoin, these higher lows at that trend line area, bouncing right now. And the case for Bitcoin right now to maybe even break those moving averages on the 6-hour and daily, the case to visit this trend line up here around 29,400, very much in play on the short term, because if we look at this RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator, and I have a lot of it circled back here, but we start zooming out, and it's not guaranteed every time this is happening, and my chart is messy because I was just doing this chart. Every time it kind of hops out of oversold, you can see a move for Bitcoin. Oversold, pop to the upside, pop to the upside, oversold back here, sideways, and then the move to the upside, oversold, a little move to the upside, and then the bear market. So these data points are consistent. They're not always saying, hey, Bitcoin's just going to consistently put in higher highs and higher lows, but there's some type of move to the upside in play when it's coming out of that oversold area. And I just went back to September of 2022. Right now, this is happening post 2022 bear market, right? So that's not to say that a move to the upside, a momentum swing to the upside won't just see immediate resistance right here. I mean, if you look at this, the last RSI, you can actually even see that's kind of what happened to Bitcoin. Oversold, popped to the upside to overbought, and it just failed, right? It didn't break out of that kind of move that it was in already. It was a lower high at that area. So going back to the Bitcoin charts, what's very much, I think, in play, if it can manage to break these moving averages, right around 20 and 50-day moving average on the daily chart, is just this upper trend line. And at that point, it's kind of like, all right, that move has happened. Now we just question, is there a breakout? Is there a bullish confirmation breakout at that trend line, or is it resistance? And that's a resistance area, 29,400 or so. So that's what I'd be watching. Now, what I want to point out is we're in a consolidation pattern. Target to the upside out of this shorter term pattern around $33,000, $34,000. But I just want to note, Bitcoin could fail at the moving averages that are just above it. It could fail at the upper trend line, meaning we could come up and it's just like, oh man, we've fallen back down. It could be a week from now on the 17th right here, and we're falling back below this pattern. But this is why we track these patterns, because we get confirmations at certain breakout areas, namely an upper trend line and lower trend line. But in the meantime, we wait and we consider all options. We don't just say, hey, it's good CPI data today. Hey, you go over to Amazon, pre-market's up a bunch. Bitcoin's going to moon. We can't do that, or at least I can't do that. And this is just the way that I see the charts, but that's why I track these, so I can anticipate, well, what happens at that line? What happens at this line? What kind of confirmations are we being given? Target to the downside, just so you know, around 24,000. That's notable because if you go to the weekly chart, that's right around just above the 24,000 area is the 20-week moving average. Remember, most recently, the 20-week moving average crossing above the 50-week moving average in blue. Any consolidation to these moving averages, in my opinion, just not a bad thing. So I'm saying, even right now, there's such a case for Bitcoin to break out to the upside and crypto to break out, and markets to actually break out. But I'm even sitting here just saying, if it doesn't happen and Bitcoin consolidates even further to the downside, I'm still just extremely bullish on just the setup for Bitcoin right now on the macro and what's happening from a cycle perspective. And that's just it, right? So we can track the shorter term charts all day, every day. But at the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about this chart and keeping that into consideration. So those are my thoughts on Bitcoin today, everybody. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think is next for Bitcoin. Are we going to see a move to the upside? Are we going to see a breakout out of this consolidation pattern finally? Because it's been quite a boring last couple of months or so, going back to at least March 19th. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next one. God bless.